Hi, welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 3. I'd like to give a very special shout out to my podcast partner, Perpetual Buzz Experiences. You can check them out on www.perpetualbuzz.com. 2023 was such an exciting year with several noteworthy highlights. The podcast won the Hubhopper Podcast Awards for the category of Best Interview Podcast of 2023, and it followed with several live podcast formats at the NCPA International Jazz Festival, the Snarky Puppy India Tour, and Steve Vai's Indian Tour. I'd like to show you all a little sneak peek of what happened in 2023.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Gilbert.
Hello everybody, this is Purbain Chatterjee.
I'm Ludovico Einaudi.
Hi, this is Antonio Sanchez.
In India, this is Jordan Rudis from the
And this is Adrian Vandenberg.
ギタリストリサ X です。
Hey, this is Rhonda Smith.
Hi, I'm Harold Faltermeyer.
This is Dave Weckley.
Hi, this is Bill Frisell.
Hey, this is Julian Jujimani. You're watching Stewards of Music with Aditya Veera.
You're listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
You're listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
And you're listening to Stalwart of Music with Aditya Veera.
And you're listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Hello, India. Hello, Bharat. I will be talking to Aditya Veera for his series Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Good to know that.
Yeah, it's by far one of the most intelligent interviews.
An interesting choice of questions. Very well presented.
I like where you're coming from and your questions, and you've done your research, and you're.
It was a pleasure to discuss all those great topics that you put on the table, and I was lucky to be with you in this hour. I spent a beautiful hour with you. Thank you.
Very nice interview. I am very happy that your questions were very, very nice, and even you are so young, you have the depth and you have the knowledge. So I congratulate you, Aditya.
He is connecting people from this side of the globe to the other side of the globe. He's doing an amazing job. I would kindly request that you all check out Aditya Veera on his Instagram and his YouTube channel. His Instagram, I think, is ADIX 70. So give it up for Aditya Veera, everyone. Go check it out.
Season 3 2024 seems very promising already. I'm bringing to you the best of artists in every possible genre on this planet. I have a series of album premieres lined up for you all, starting with guitar legend Scott Henderson, who will be releasing his highly anticipated album Carnival on the 2nd of February 2024. Carnival features a diverse set of beautiful compositions and demonstrates Scott's striking ability to combine elements of jazz, rock, funk, blues in an authentic and very seamless way. The album was recorded live in the studio with Romain on bass and Archibald on drums. The same musicians featured on People Mover as well. The theme of the entire album revolves around the idea of being at a fair. Scott drives comparisons to the LA Fair or Disneyland filled with the crazy atmosphere with variety in terms of music. This album will have 11 incredible tracks, and if you wish to place an order, you can feel free to place an order on www.amazon.com and you can grab an audio CD copy for sure. You can also head out to the online shop on scotthenderson.net and get an autograph CD. You don't want to miss that. The legendary US blues rock guitar player Walter Trout has navigated over 7 decades in the American blues rock scene. And I'm delighted to present to you yet another album premiere, which we would be having as part of season 3. I'm talking about his new album, Broken, which has some incredible original tracks that ranges from a raging sound to soothing music. It was recorded at the King Size Sound Labs in LA. The album includes collaborations with artists like Beth Hart, Dee Schneider, and harmonica player Will. It's set to release on the 1st of March 2024 and will be available as a LP, CD, and will be also available in digital formats for people to consume. So head out to www.waltertrout.com and get your official merchandise from there. Melissa Manchester is all set to put out her 25th album review on the 23rd of February. The album features special guests like Kenny Loggins, Dolly Parton, and Gerald Albright. So don't forget to mark your dates and look out for the album release. My guest today is an incredible singer-songwriter and a pop sensation, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. He's none other than Leo Sayer. He's a Grammy-winning British singer-songwriter, and he's achieved significant chart success in the 70s and 80s. He's based in Australia and continues to tour worldwide and create a lot of new music. He's performed nearly 3,000 concerts worldwide. He was recently discovered by an all-new generation in 2006 with the remix Thunder in My Heart Again by DJ Mech, reaching number 1 in the UK charts. He's sold over 25 million albums globally so far. His 1976 album Endless Flight, produced by Richard Perry, has sold over 1 million copies in the US alone. Some of his noteworthy chart achievements include The Show Must Go On, 1973, which was a breakthrough hit and top 10 in the UK, Australia, and US, and top 5 for Three Dog Night. His song, More Than I Can Say, might have been a rendition, but his version became a huge hit, reaching high chart positions on a global scale. His music features a mix of pop, rock, blues, and disco influences, contributing to widespread global appeal. His songs have been streamed in recent times and downloaded in 184 countries and over 750 million listens till date. Without any further ado, I'm delighted to welcome my guest for today, Leo Sayer.
Hi, this is Leo Sayer, and I am really, really so thrilled to be talking to India. At last! It's been a long time since I've been, I know I've been very popular in India. So at last, I'm on a really great podcast, guys. I hope you're going to come and watch it with me. It's called Stalwarts of Music, and it's with a lovely guy called Aditya Veera, and I'm going to be talking to him. We're going to go really in depth to lots of elements of the career and all about the songs and all about this stuff. And I hope you'll tune in and watch. It's going to be very interesting. And I'm looking forward to making a connection with all of you.
Hi, Leo. Namaste. Welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 3. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show, sir.
It's really nice. Namaste too. It's really, really good to be talking to you.
I see a beautiful poster right behind you. Where are you right
Yeah.
now? Which part of the world are you in, and what are you
I,
up
I'm
to?
I live in Australia, so
Mhm.
I'm in Australia. I'm just about it's about 160 kilometers or 65 miles outside of Sydney on the
Okay.
way to the capital, Canberra. So
All
I'm
right.
inland. We're pretty high up here. We're about 600 meters. So,
Mm.
we have a really different climate to the guys down on the beaches. Um, but it's beautiful here, beautiful countryside.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of England very much. And it's
Mm.
very green and lush and little villages, just like England. So I suppose it's a good place for a guy like me, an ex-Brit, to be, but it's nice here. And I have this big room that I'm talking in at the moment, which is a big barn. It's my
Mm.
studio, and
Okay.
I do all my work in here, make albums in here,
Yeah.
and it's really nice, and it's private as well because nobody can hear me when I'm working, and there's not many people who live in the village. Maybe about 400 people live in this village, so
Yeah.
it's nice and great place to work.
Marvelous. And considering it's a village, I'm sure there are a lot of farms around. And are you into any form of agriculture? Do you sort
Not
of?
really. My partner, my wife, now
Uh-huh.
my wife, because we got married after being together many years, Donatella. She's
Okay.
Italian. She's
Okay.
a great gardener, and in
Mm.
fact, we can see from here where I'm looking out behind you. There's all the gardeners working on the garden today, and we
Mhm.
have beautiful roses here. The soil is very verdant, very very great. Just up the hill from us is where a lot of agricultural farming
Mhm.
goes on.
Yeah.
Great Wagyu beef cattle, is all around here. So amazing, amazing crops and amazing beef, and also amazing wine in this region as
Mm.
well. Yeah, so we're very blessed to have all these things.
What's the weather like today?
Man, it is like Mumbai. You
Okay.
wouldn't believe it. It is so hot and so humid at the moment. We're getting a really hot spell. We've had a lot of rain. It's stopped
Uh-huh.
raining now, but the humidity is like 70%. So it's
Okay.
kind of like, it's whenever I've been in it's like Calcutta really, more than anything else. Like Bangalore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I've got the air conditioning on, which I should turn off because probably the sound will be better. There. Uh, there it goes. Now the sound will be even better. But yeah, it's very hot here, and we're not usually this hot, but it's lovely. But maybe we got the same climate now, Aditya. So
Oh yes.
we're
Oh yes. In
yeah.
in in fact, I'm
Oh,
I'm mostly in Bangalore for music, but right now I don't know if you visited Tamil Nadu in India. So it's
no,
it's it's further
no.
down compared to Bangalore. You'll have to go further down, and
Okay.
yeah, it's not that bad. I must say it's a little pleasant out here. I'm in a city called Coimbatore.
Oh yeah, okay, okay. Really nice, really nice. I know where that is on the map. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been right down to the bottom, to
Okay.
Goa and
Okay.
all around there, and
Okay.
I love it down there. The beaches are amazing, and
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
to Bangladesh before. I've
Okay.
been of course, to Mumbai and to
Uh huh.
Delhi.
Uh huh.
Mm, In fact, when we used to come to fly to Australia in the first tours that I did, of which that poster is the first
Yeah.
show in 1975
Yeah.
that I made in Australia, and we used to fly in and drop off at Delhi on the way. I
Mm.
remember every single time we hoped that on the stopover we would have enough time to drive to the Taj Mahal, but it never worked
Yeah.
out. You know, Still one of my dreams to see the Taj.
Well, that gives you more reason to come and perform in India.
Dead right.
Yeah. 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 So I have a very interesting agenda planned for today. Shall we get started?
Sure, let's go. Let's go.
Okay. Leo, you've had tremendous success in the world of music. You have won a Grammy, a Juno, a Golden Lion Award, and several other awards, for the category of Best Male Singer and chart topping global success, shall we say. Your
Yeah.
music is well received, and people were also responding to it at so many different levels because they saw passion, they saw integrity, and I think they saw a great deal of conviction, not just of you as a musician, but you leading the life which has been quite enduring. So, what's the secret behind the incredible music you've created? And what is the charm behind Leo Sayer's music? And why do you think it still survives the test of time?
Well, I think because it's all about the songs. I'm an identity as Leo Sayer, probably an icon, probably very well known, but my songs are more well known than me. I'm
Okay.
one of those artists. I think you could take people like David Bowie and Elton John, of course, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and they're maybe bigger than their music. So we see an image of them before we think of the song. But with Leo, it's usually people think of a song and they go, it's that guy that made the record. So I've let my songwriting has been the most important thing for me, and that's how it all started. I was writing songs, at the start of my career with different people, and then I found this guy, David Courtney. He kind of discovered me, led me to a friend of his called Adam Faith, who was a very famous English pop singer and actor from the 50s and 60s, late 50s and early 60s. And so these guys kind of, I started with them, but it was all about the songs. I mean, Adam would always say, Leo, it's all about the songs you're writing.
Yeah.
And David, of course, was writing with me. So the first two albums are all original songs, only written by David and I. We didn't even look to do anything else. And then the third album, called Another Year, I found a guy in my band called Frank Farrell, who I was writing, and singing with in the band. And it turned out that he could write. So when David wasn't available, which is what happened for the third album in 1975, I just turned around to Frank and said, look, I want to keep on writing songs. This is what I do. And would you do it with me? And he, of course, we wrote some great songs together there. And I don't think it was until I went to America, seriously looking for a producer, I'd already been doing shows, that Richard Perry turned around and said, look, I'm really not bothered whether you write songs or not. I like the voice.
Okay.
So that was the first time I kind of actually thought, hang on, I'm more than just a songwriter. Because up to that time, totally it was all about the songs, like Paul Simon or Leonard Cohen or Bob Dylan. It's all about your own material. I mean, you don't see Bob Dylan doing covers, not very many anyway. He will always do his own music, and the same with Cohen and Simon. And that was me, really. I was a singer-songwriter. But then when I met Richard Perry, I think he broadened my whole scope, because all of a sudden it was looking for songs that I could apply this voice, which had, I think, become really good by this time. I could really interpret songs, even though I was interpreting mostly my own songs up to that time. He found that I could sing anything and make it believable, and that was the key.
Well, of course, you are a man indeed of many hats. Like you mentioned, you've been a singer-songwriter, a producer, a TV host. You've been part of several programs like The Muppet Show, and you've had a stint as an actor too. And I read that you were also inducted as a deputy sheriff for Virginia City at some point. So,
Yes.
yeah, and you have your own record label. So, how important and necessary have these other roles that I mentioned been as an adjunct to just, apart from being a musician?
Well, I think when my career, I mean, it's not 1973 or 1972 it started, but this year, for instance, is the anniversary of the second album, Just a Boy. Last year was the 50th anniversary. What I'm saying, 50 years since Silverbird last year, and 50 years since Just a Boy this year. So I think during that time of a career, you are going to be trying to reach all of the kind of the edges of your talent. I mean, I was a graphic designer, an illustrator, a painter before I got started.
Okay.
And I always loved poetry, and I wrote poetry and tried to write books and everything before I started as well. So as soon as my career got going, I had a chance to, really sort of exercise all those other talents that I had, because when people listen, suddenly you've got a voice, suddenly there's people kind of listening to you and going, oh, what are you going to do for us today, Leo? And you think, well, hang on, I can also do illustrations, and I can also, so all of these different facets come in, and you fill the time with it. And I think the other thing to say is that a career in music is always kind of up and down, there's always going to be moments when you're out of style and you're unpopular. I mean, okay, I could still be traveling the world and doing concerts, but I might not have a record in the charts or something like that. So, you look for other avenues. And when people offer you great things to do, even if they're not, around the main script of what you do, you can say, yeah, let's have a go, let's try that. So, and I'm an inquisitive person. I'm a Gemini. I'm sort of, I always want to, I'm still ambitious. I can't believe that at 75, that I still think my best record is ahead of me. I'm inquisitive and I want to learn. And I get a fascination of, this business is communication, and we meet people and they challenge us, to kind of, to think like they do, as it were, or share things that they're excited in. And I think the world to me is very infectious. So I'm gonna try and sort of catch up with everything that I can.
I feel the world is not enough for someone like you, Leo.
No, it's not enough. It's not big enough. No, that's right.
And you also did mention that there is a philosophy that you are. I mean, most musicians, when they're in their 70s, they feel the best music is ahead of them. So could you expand on that philosophy for me?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But I think it's because you just get better and better and better at what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a new album prepared at the moment, but it's not really new. It's a bunch of songs from 1992 to 1994 that I discovered, the tapes that I'd made. I mean, it was a time when I couldn't get a record deal. My deal with Chrysalis Records for most of the world and Warner Brothers in all the Americas was over. So basically, I was looking for a new record company. And while I was waiting, and people are saying, well, Leo, I don't know if you've done maybe all your best work already, because they just want to live on your past, market that. That's enough, They don't want you giving them anything new. So I thought, well, I just went and built a studio and I started making records by myself. And I thought, if anybody gets to hear these one day, it'll be great, But I put it all away. And just recently I was looking through, I think COVID times, made us all do different things, didn't it? We suddenly went back to our archives. We looked at what we've done in the past. I was also writing my book, writing my memoirs. And I got to this reading about this period at the same time as I rediscovered a tape store that I'd put together of old tapes. And I pulled out these tapes from this time and put the records on, and they sounded amazing. I still had them in my head, but I didn't think that they sounded good enough to record or release, So now the record's scheduled for this year. It's going to be called 1992, and it's all about these recordings from 1992 to 94. So sometimes you don't know what you've got, and then you go back and you find it. But I think that all of us, we're finding. It's like, I know you've interviewed a lot of musicians. I know people like Lee Ritenour and so some of the famous American jazz musicians and rock musicians, session guys, that I've worked with, and I see that we all say the same thing. Life is a music school, and you keep learning, you keep getting better and better. I mean, those guys like Larry Carlton and Lee Ritenour, and Steve Gadd, they're still as motivated as ever.
Sure.
And that's fantastic. That's inspiring.
Yeah. In fact, I believe Steve Gadd also recently put out a book, and
I'm in it, I think. My record
exactly.
Well, actually, Steve is coming here very locally to where I live, in what we call the Southern Highlands in South Wales in Australia, and he's doing a gig with James Taylor. And I've already sent messages to Steve, and we're going to hook up when he comes over at the end of April.
Lovely.
So
lovely.
I haven't seen him for a while. Last time I saw him was when he was playing with Paul Simon. But he's just a lovely cat. Still got all the energy, and we spend a lot of time together. In the mid-70s.
And you did mention that you've recently written a book. So would you like to speak a little bit about it?
Well, at the moment, I'm actually turning the book into it's either going to be a podcast or a radio series.
Wow.
So, God, there's a lot of words. I mean, I'm on chapter 25. I'm reading the book and recording it and putting music with it as well. And I'm on chapter 25 of 40 at the moment. So still a little bit to go, but it should be ready soon. And I thought, I looked at, I had a few publishers I was talking to, and they wanted me to restructure the book. And I wasn't very happy about that because they always want a sensational first chapter, oh, I nearly died, but this saved me. And I would still want to write it in chronological form. It starts off with me falling out of a pram, bashing my head. So I've got a flat head and a short neck because of it. And so, all of my story starts, when I was a kid, there's wonderful things went on in my childhood that lead you to the kind of find the personality that I am now, So I wanted to do it in chronological fashion. So in the end, I said, no, okay, forget it for a while. Let me do it as an audio book first. And then we'll come from there. Because I think also podcasts, as what you're doing, and also audio books are fantastic things, aren't they? And the spoken word is still such a power.
Correct.
So I found that as soon as I started reading the stories and talking to them, and I tried it out on friends, I would tell them the stories at lunches and things like that, and they all said, you've got to do this, Leo, because it's your story in your own voice, and you're so passionate about what you did. It's a good way to do it. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
That's incredible. You rightly mentioned that having an audio book instead of an actual, going about the traditional or the conventional process of, reaching out to a publisher and, making a physical book is a much better idea, in my opinion, because people like consuming podcasts these days. And these podcasts give you the freedom to sort of craft it in your own way or in your own style. No one is going to question. Yeah. No one's going to question you the entire sequence or things like that.
Yeah. When you get someone like, say, the actor Michael Caine, a very recognizable voice, or Peter Sellers, or think of some of the great Indian actors as well, and you get them speaking to you in their own voice, you connect, because those guys maybe are your heroes, or heroines.
Sure.
And they're people that you connect with, and you've got a connection, and then they're speaking directly to you, which is a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
In on the written page, of course, it can be the same. I mean, the book obviously will get published after I've done this audio thing first, but I think it's a nice way to introduce it anyway.
For sure. In fact, there are a lot of possibilities in the world of audio books or podcasting in general, considering, you're so reputed and the kind of people you can get on your podcast to make it even more interesting. And your musical ideas, your writing, you have a lot of talent. So, yeah.
Share that. Yeah, it's really important. Yeah. I mean, there's great things like in America, you've got Sirius XM and my friend here runs a wonderful international podcast as well. So it's a great way to reach the people. And I think people are fascinated. They love the music. They want to hear stories of how the songs were made. They want to hear the stories in the recording studio. They want to hear the kind of interaction between musicians and songwriters and producers and arrangers. And I think it's fascinating stuff. I mean, I love listening. I was listening to a podcast with Bob Dylan on this morning.
Wow.
It was just amazing. It was an old interview that he did really in depth. And he doesn't often speak that much, but this guy managed to get so much stuff out of him. So, suddenly you're kind of, after that, you play, say, Blood on the Tracks or one of his albums, and so you know more about Bob. And suddenly the songs maybe even mean even more because of that,
True. Very true. In fact, human emotion turns into a metaphor which needs expression, and then at a point it develops momentum. And there is no choice for it to, excuse me, be inside or be within you.
No, that's right. It's got to come out, it's got to be shared as well. That's the sharing is kind of important. We feel these emotions, we speak these emotions. That's what the songs are about. They're all about passion. They're all about feelings. I mean, a song like, say, My Thunder in My Heart is about making love, and
Correct.
and it is something that people kind of connect with because they say, "Oh God, when I'm in love, I feel like that." So that's the universal language.
Correct. So to expand on my question, for a lot of people, it may be initially chaotically coming out, and then later it takes form and structure, and then it's modified and improved through several revisions. So how does it vary between writing a poem or writing a book, or in the context of writing a song, in terms of different kind of things you write, which you've already written about? When does that metaphor that I mentioned at the initial stage begin to take its aesthetic?
Very interesting question, because some songs that I've written literally just came out. I couldn't even control them. They came out of my head straight into the microphone. Orchard Road was written. No writing down on the paper. Long Tall Glasses, I Can Dance was written. Nothing written down on the paper. Just came out of the microphone in front of the band, and everybody's trying to keep up with me then, or else I'm working with someone who we prearranged some hand signals so we know change chord here, change chord key there. So some things are done like that. But I think that there's a moment. I think sometimes, this is the joy of playing songs live. Okay. When you record them, you're very much in a vacuum. You, producer, the arrangers, the musicians, the vibe in the studio, only your friends can see that. It's very, very intimate, It's a small amount of people sharing something. And maybe because the musicians are all session guys, they go off to do another session the next day, so they've already forgotten about it. I used to get that. I'd phone up someone like Ray Parker Jr. and say, "Hey, what about that session last week?" He said, "Oh, which one was that?" Because he's done so many since then. But I think the moment comes when you get the feedback from the audience. The people that listen to the record. So it immediately comes, and that starts the second process. I always call it the second process. That's when you go live. You go into the an auditorium or a concert hall or a club even, or a stadium or an arena, and you start to sing these songs. And now you've got two groups of people who are sharing this thing. One is you and the creators of the music, and the other thing is the people it's affected. So that changes the way you sing a song, and it can help it develop. Say a song like "When I Need You," very popular song of mine. When we were in the studio, it was all pieced together from different takes, and so Richard Perry was very detailed in the way he made records, and he cut up the tape. He'd say, I like "When I" from take 14, "Need" I like from take 24, and take 72 or and so you end up with something that isn't really totally natural. But when you actually go to sing it on stage, if the song is good, like "When I Need You" is an amazing song written by Baez Sager, the lyrics and the music by Albert Hammond, and you sing that song, every time you sing it, you can reinvent it.
Correct.
And you develop it and change it. I mean, now when I sing it, it's almost like a blues, the "I need you," it's not the same as the way we used to do it. It's developed, but the people still recognize it, but it means something more to me. So I think you're right. There is a moment when a song becomes bigger. You reinterpret. It means different things. You've got more information that's come in. So all of that information is absorbed, and suddenly it means more. And I've been very lucky that not only the songs I've written, but a lot of the songs that other people have written, like "Have You Ever Been in Love," "Can't Stop Loving You," "More Than I Can Say," "When I Need You," "Raining in My Heart," that other people have written. I'm still able to put passion into those, almost like I wrote it myself.
Sure.
And that's the difference. And I think that's one of the things that I know I can do, and every time I sing them, I feel like it's the first time still. So I don't get bored. You'll have a lot of singers tell you, "Oh my God, I've sung that song a million times." I mean, just recently I counted up my live shows, and I've done about 5,000 live shows in my life.
Wow.
And so when you count
Crazy.
that up, And sometimes we do 3 or 4 shows a night. When you count all that up, you should become jaded. The saying, really sort of, oh, just boring. Oh God, I've got to go to work. But it's not really always like that. It's kind of, it's more inspiring than that. Yeah, I find every time I sing the songs, I love them all over again. What can I say?
Well, another interesting perspective I'd like to know from you. You did mention a lot of these songs written by someone else, or maybe originally crafted by someone else. So when it comes to these classics or these traditions, you've got to like abide by certain standards, right? So how do you sort of bring the flavor from within
Analogy to
you?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
originality, and say give the Leo Sayer flavor to an evergreen hit. Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily always try to do just that. I try sometimes to take a different view and look at the song itself. I just did an album recently called Northern Songs,
Okay.
and it's me interpreting the Beatles. But honestly, you won't recognize some of the versions until they get started, because I've slowed a lot of. Can't Buy Me Love is slowed right down to a very jazzy ballad. Eleanor Rigby is done in the style of Michael Jackson. So do 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 do. Eleanor Rigby, and it's so I've changed a lot of ways of doing them. And I think that sometimes, you're able to do that. We're all free to interpret things in different ways. And I try to interpret the song like I feel the song could be interpreted. And I think most songwriters are really thrilled when you do something like that with their songs. I know I am. I've heard versions of The Show Must Go On slowed down, and Long Tall Glasses done as a jazz song, and You Make Me Feel Like Dancing done as a kind of big band style. I love that. Even actually, there was a Dixieland kind of You Make Me Feel Like Dancing. It's like a Dixieland style.
Okay.
And just recently, a beautiful young English singer who lives here Indian singer. What am I saying?
Oh.
I shared the fact that I'm a huge fan of Asha Bhosle and Lata Mangeshkar and Mohammed Rafi. I mean, they're some of my favorite singers. So I put the post on and I shared O Sajana, O Sajana, and I shared this song, just saying this is my favorite singer of all time, Lata. Queen Lata is the best, and love her phrasing. She's always been inspiring to me. And a young Indian singer, she's very young, she lives in Brisbane, and she did a version of When I Need You with Indian inflections, when I need you, and it was, that's terrible, but it sounds so gloriously, but it's like if Asha or Lata or, those wonderful singers had taken my song and then the different scales of Indian music to it, but still kind of like held to the melody, but put those phrasings and harmonics that Indian music is so favored for, all those half notes, all those quarter notes, all of those kind of like sliding scale key changes. It's all in there. And to hear that, oh my God, it was just such a privilege. In fact, I was so knocked out that I want to sing with this girl soon. And I've made some messages to her saying, can we do a duet? This would be fantastic.
That's incredible. Your knowledge when it comes to Indian musicians and
oh no, I always love it. I bought I had one of the first records I ever bought was a Indian film classics from 1960. It's one of my favorite films of all time.
Wow.
And oh my God, everything on there is just so beautiful, a lot of the, arranged by the Shankar, Ravi's brother, and who was a wonderful producer as well. All of the great musicians are on there, beautiful string arrangements, incredible singing, fantastically tight orchestras, great players, and that beautiful singing, that kind of, I don't know, you could put the cheapest mic in the world on Lata Mangeshkar, and she would stand out from the audience, from the orchestra, because it's that presence that those singers had, that real. It's like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, the Pakistani singer. It's like that. He just has to sing, and everything fits around him.
Correct.
It's a beautiful thing. It's maybe the quality as well. Paul McCartney and Sting and great singers have. The music kind of suddenly frames that wonderful centerpiece, Pavarotti or whatever.
Yeah. You did mention Sting. He's performing here next weekend at Mumbai at the Lollapalooza festival. He's headlining the festival, so I'm going to be traveling all the way from my city to watch him.
Yeah, oh no, that's great. He's still a wonderful musician, incredible songs, and incredible musicality. That's what he has, and lovely guy as well.
Yeah. It was probably around 1973. Show Must Go On became a huge success, and it's been 51 years now. And what has been the journey so far for you? What have been the achievements since that bursting on the firmament and keeping it alight happened? Is that a problem because you are Leo Sayer and not just an ordinary man? Not everyone gets to talk to you, right? You're someone who's grown over the years and has a reputation as a legend and as a musical icon. So did that sort of put pressure on you that the next song you release has got to be something that you need to live up to?
No, never. I've never ever. I maybe have pressure sometimes. Record companies can be expectant, and they, you just had a big hit with them, so they're hoping and praying that the next record sounds exactly the same. Now, I never did that. I was changing all the time.
Okay.
But I mean, think about The Show Must Go On. I mean, I was. My real name is Gerard Sayer, and I was Gerard Sayer. I wasn't even Leo yet. When I wrote that, first made it. So I don't know. It shouldn't change you too much. That's what I would feel. And I still do my shopping. I don't have a limousine driver. I've got I have a cleaner that does my house. I have a wonderful Italian girl that cooks for me, and but I do the rubbish. I put out the garbage. I do all those real things, and I don't want to ever kind of get to that position where maybe I'm being spoilt in that way. I mean, I have been spoilt because when you go to America and you play the casinos and suddenly you've got a butler, looking after your clothes and everything you want to have is, they give you a Rolls Royce to drive around the Lake Tahoe, all that sort of stuff. It can spoil you, but I always tend to kind of walk away and after that and go back to my simple life. It's very important. So I think staying cool-headed and staying with your feet on the ground and not think like Leo Sayer. I mean, my saying is, I always say I'm Jerry Sayer until somebody reminds me I'm Leo, and then okay. But it can happen anywhere, I mean, just earlier on this morning, I went out to get a cup of tea and a bit of breakfast, and some people were visiting the village, and they went, "Oh, it's Leo Sayer," and they ran over, and we had to have photographs taken and all this stuff, and it's really nice, because until they do that, I forget who I am. So it's really nice. But I don't think that if you keep your head down and you keep your feet on the ground, it shouldn't change you too much. That's what I'm trying to say. It's you develop as a person, but you still stay true to your roots, And I think something in me always still wants to be hungry, and always kind of trying to, I don't know, trying to be ambitious, but not trying to be too big-headed about things,
Okay.
So my cleaner has just walked in. So I'm trying to keep my head, together and my feet on the ground, because it's very important. Because if ego takes over, it's all over. It's really sad.
No, it's lovely how grounded you are in terms of not letting all of this fame and things get to you. So I mean, it's
But it
really
might.
some.
I mean, it might be a big. If I hadn't probably have got ripped off by managers, and I had more money, maybe then, if I was a bit richer, I suppose, from it, I might, have reasons to kind of fuel an ego. But I've just got enough money to live a comfortable life, and and I have got a comfortable life, but I don't really need anything too much. But at the same time, a lot of people made money out of me that I should have had. So there is still, that's part of the hunger, I suppose, part of the drive, that
Yeah.
I'm still trying to sort of like justify everything, in that way.
Well,
It's
yeah. Well, of course. Like, do you stand by the fact that money can buy happiness?
No, it can't. It can't. It buys you security and freedom. That's about it. There's
Yeah.
there's nothing else than that. It's oh, sorry, I'm just giving. Look at this. I'm giving some money to my cleaner. But this is real life, guys. Thank you, Donna. Cheers, love. So,
Yeah.
no, I don't think it can. It's, and also, fame is a very weird thing.
Yeah.
It can pass you by in a flash of an eye. You
Yeah.
could be famous one moment. You could be on the top of the tree. You can
Yeah.
have a number one record, and then next week you will be thoroughly depressed because you're driving to try and, hopefully get another one prepared.
Correct.
And you'll find it's very elusive.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do what we do. This is a very rarefied world,
Mm.
in any creative art. So you just have to take the breaks when they come, enjoy them. The other lovely thing is things come back, like my song Thunder in My Heart becoming a number one in 2005, 2006,
Yeah.
when it was a song recorded in 1977.
Mm.
And I didn't even sing it again. Some DJ came along and did a remix of it. And then it gets a second life, So
Yeah.
you're always thinking that anything can happen at any time. What I've tried to do in my 50 to 60 years of my career is just try and make some bloody good records. That's what it's about. Just try and make some great music, because it's the music that I'm judged by. And I don't think it's the
Sure.
famous person. I don't want to be judged by as a famous person or personality, I mean, we all get that as well.
Yeah.
But I want to be judged by my work. So I put a lot of effort into it, and I'm very happy with what I've created. But I still think I can do better.
Well,
You know what I
that
mean?
defines the true artist in you.
The best is yet to come. Yeah,
The best
absolutely.
is yet to come, indeed. Yeah.
Because people ask you about what you've done.
Yeah.
They want to know the story of something you've done, but your mind is actually not living in the past, it's living in the
Correct.
future. You're thinking
Correct.
about what you're working on now and what could possibly get better,
Correct. A lot of people like to dwell, with their past a set of achievements and everything, but a few of them, I mean, especially true artists, in my opinion, look at what's in store in the near future and work towards it. So
Well, I
that's
mean, I'm working in the world of pop music,
yeah.
and pop music now
Yeah.
is all about marketing. So
Correct.
every time, I mean, I've just had an argument with a promoter in England or an agent in England who, they're promoting my tour.
Yeah.
And I had a great new picture and a new title for the tour. But you know what? They're going to call it, "You Still Feel Like Dancing?" Leo Sayer, and the old picture is still there. So, you can't fight it in a way. This is what happened. Sometime in the 70s,
Yeah.
70s, everybody stopped thinking that the artist knew best.
Mm.
The record company suddenly knew best. So they were telling you what kind of record they thought they could sell, rather than going, "Oh, please, Leo, yeah, give me your new record. Oh, wow, let's put that up there and see how it does." No, suddenly it all changed. No, Leo, you can't do what you want to do. You'll have to do what the market requires. And so that's a lot of, that you see that, that's why we've ended up with, bless her heart, Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran and those kind of artists, because they're maybe not as inventive as the Beatles and Paul Simon and Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan and even Sting was, or U2 were even, or Prince was, or Stevie Wonder. They're not required to be. They're required to fulfill something that the marketplace has a demand for. So Taylor, and Ed and a lot of these artists, good luck to them, they're just kind of like they almost sound like the real thing, but they're very close, and they're very satisfying, and they're great talented artists, but they're not required to be inventors. No one expects Taylor Swift to do an avant-garde jazz album, and I wish she would. Learn the saxophone, Taylor. Come on.
Well, you did say that they're almost there, right? And definitely there is some kind of a divide that you see, right, in terms of their music. Having listened to their music, what is that divide? If you could explain it to me in simple words.
Well, it's very hard. I mean, I'm a guy who grew up listening to blues music and jazz and and the extremes of like what we call protest music with Bob Dylan and those kind of artists, in the 60s. And I kind of like, I can only tell you, I'd rather listen to John Coltrane than Taylor Swift. But that's me, so I think we're dealing with taste here, tastes. What is our taste and what is favorite thing? And sometimes, in making your own music, you've got to go to your tastes and you've got to explore those edges. So that means you're not going to satisfy everybody, particularly the people who want to sell your music in a particular way. And I think the division is music from the heart and music from passion or a message that needs to be said, is always going to be different than music that is filling a niche. I want to sound like this band, or I want to sound like this artist, or I want to make a record like that song. I want to make another, As Tears Go By, or I want to make another, Can't Buy Me Love, or I want to make another, Fields of, I don't know, there's different ways to make music. I mean, look at all the genres. You've got heavy metal, where it's very difficult to separate a lot of the artists because they're working in one genre, very narrow genre. And it's not even just what they know. They're not willing to explore anything outside that. Country artists are much the same, but those, some of them, like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson, they spread incredibly and they can do so much. So their music is not just defined by their genre. And that's the kind of artist I want to be. I want to be the artist that isn't trapped by a genre. Although I must say, to me, there is nothing more spiritual and more beautiful and more almost religious as the 3-minute pop single. I mean, Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks, or The Last Time by the Rolling Stones, or I don't know, Say a Little Prayer for Me, or even I Only Have Eyes for You, the Flamingos. Some of these songs are such a perfect description of everything in life. Won't Get Fooled Again, The Who. Tangled Up in Blue, Bob Dylan. Some of these songs, Homeward Bound, Paul Simon. I love being in that world where I could be compared possibly to them. That's good enough, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough. Sounds fair to me.
To get something said in a 3-minute song is a work of art, I do believe. So I'm very proud to be in that genre, and that's maybe my field. Okay, I do a lot of other things, and I work with some musicians who are very left field to that, and sometimes we do something that's kind of almost experimental and different to that. But that's what I'm after. I'm after writing Let It Be,
Lovely. At this point in your life, when you have, let's say, 50 more years, right, in terms of creating music ahead of you, and the hindsight of it, what is your aspiration for yourself?
Yeah, I think to just write, keep going until you've defined that perfect song. And you know what everybody says, and all artists say there is a moment in their life when they do. Probably I've already done it in some ways with You Make Me Feel Like Dancing, but there's some moment when you write that perfectly simple song that just says everything and makes everybody get up and dance or something like that. Or maybe a song like Giving It All Away, Just a Boy, that there's something there that you can do that is so simple and so direct. I think that's the aspiration, that you're always trying to create something like that. And I wouldn't mind if I had about 2 or 3 more of those, to have possibly hits with them, but to make some more great music, and make it in my later years. And look at Bob Dylan; he's still creating some incredible things. And like guys like Chris Christopherson in their older years, and Johnny Cash, making still amazing statements. I mean, when Johnny Cash, okay, it's not his song, but that record Hurt, is just incredible because it's so direct, so simple. It's what humans do to themselves. Trent Reznor's song, from Nine Inch Nails, it's just an amazing song. And when Johnny sings it, like 2 years or so before he died, as a very old man, you could realize that this guy is telling his life story in 1 or 3 verses. Now that is something else. Look at Willie Nelson, 90 years old now, and still he's got something to give us.
Yeah. Sure.
And so my aspiration would be to grow old gracefully like Willie or Johnny, or Bob. That would be, or Paul McCartney or Paul Simon, to grow old gracefully like that and still be able to come up with something that affected people would be a beautiful thing.
That's a wonderful thought, Leo. I must say that.
I can't say, I mean, of course I want to be an actor. Of course I want to write, beautiful books. Of course I want to, do lots of other things. But the main thing that I do, I think I want to tune into that and do it really well. I think there's still some life in it,
Yeah. I'd like to touch upon the aspect of wordplay. So, can you provide examples of a well executed wordplay in song lyrics and what makes them effective to someone like you?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been picking out some lines from this new album, 1992. These songs made at that time, and
I wasn't born then. Just to let you know.
No, but I mean, there are some lines in there that I'm concentrating on at the minute, and all that glitters ain't gold.
Yeah.
Be true to your heart and soul. All that glitters ain't gold. No matter what you've been told, be true to your heart and soul on stage. Lines like that kind of. And I'm very proud of some of the words that I've written in time. To tell the truth, it's really such a sad affair. Standing here and cold night air, but I've got to make this call because my heart is breaking. I hear the pips drop a coin in the slot. Has it been that long? I thought you'd forgotten me. I know it's getting late, but it just couldn't wait. Will I have the nerve to say, I just want to come back? Should I just go away? No, I just want to come back. From Orchard Road. And I think the linking of words, sometimes when you can describe things like that, and sometimes you don't know how it's done. They just come together magically. But the component of poetry and lyric is something very beautiful. I was thinking of a Bob Dylan line at the same time there, and it's like she can take the dark out of the nighttime and paint the daytime black. And she belongs to me. This is what we do. We're conjurers. We're alchemists with words. And I think that that's very important. I mean, the poetry of the Beatles,
Yeah.
It all started. Neil Young, Van Morrison, I mean, if you listen to Van Morrison's Astral Weeks and you ask him about it, which I've done, he'll tell you, I don't know what I was doing, but the poetry of those words. If I venture in the slipstream between the viaducts of your dream to where steel rim mobiles crash, and the dirt in the ditch road stops, will you find me? Could you kiss my eye? And lay me down easy in silent seas to be born again. I mean, my God, to come up with a lyric like that, and that's what communicates, so beautiful poetry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you had? I'm sure, like while growing up, you would have resonated with certain set of poets that might have influenced this vocabulary to develop.
Yeah, yeah,
So
totally.
who might some of them be?
Oh God, a lot of the modern French poets. I loved also the writing of people like Jack Kerouac. With this kind of lovely, clear thought. Clear writing, beautiful poetry. And a lot of that was in Bob Dylan. When I first discovered Bob Dylan, he was immediate, putting the thing, darkness at the edge of the break of dawn. All these kind of these words, everything that. The great thing is about passing on music is this. Somebody can get into my lyrics and my poetry, and I'm influenced by someone who gave that idea to me, and they're influenced by someone who gave that idea to them. So it goes back and back and back all the way to Tennyson, Wordsworth, Lewis Carroll, all of these great writers. Yeah, they were all part of it. John Steinbeck was one that I loved. I loved James Joyce as well. So these are the people I read. Hermann Hesse. These were the great writers. Steppenwolf. And of course, the Indian books of Hermann Hesse. My God, the writing, the poetry. Reading about the Brahmins and Govinda and all of that. I'm trying to remember the name of the book. Of course, I can't remember the name of the book, but people will know what I'm talking about. So all of that stays in your cranium, here. And times when you're trying to, you're listening, you've got a melody for a song, stuff automatically comes out. I can't explain it, but I'm very lucky that I carry a good memory with me, and I've remembered all these lines. I don't even write them down, and they come flooding out, And I like to think that's what happens to Bob Dylan too. So he's got a similar thing where this automatic memory of everything you've read is stored up there. Maybe all the music you listen to as well, because sometimes when you're writing songs and the melody, you realize you're paraphrasing a lot of melodies and tunes and roots and that you've kind of listened to before and absorbed and loved. The way that a C goes into a D, goes into an A minor, it's in there. It comes out, and you find yourself writing a song. You kind of know the influence for it. If you're clever, you can disguise it as well, because there are moments when, you can write a song and sit down and go, oh my God, I know what that is. Oh no, I've just written House of the Rising Sun again. and then you say, let's change one chord, and you could, and suddenly it's your own, So that can happen, because look at My Sweet Lord, George Harrison, it was the chiffons. He's so fine, so he unconsciously remembered a song that he loved, and it came out when he was writing, and that can happen very easily. There's a lot of plagiarism cases like that.
Right.
But that's accidental. I think that basically you do replay all the music you love. I'm sure that there's a lot of Lata Mangeshkar and John Coltrane melodies in my songs that have come from those places. And God, thank you for them, It's very important that we do pay tribute to those things,
Yeah. You initially pursued a course in commercial art and graphic design, from what I gathered.
Yeah.
So how has this background in visual arts influenced your music, especially in terms of album covers and overall visual presentation of your music?
Yeah, I think in writing songs, when you learn perspective, of things, when you learn parallel lines, sort of harmonic lines, when you can draw somebody's face, or you can do a portrait or something like that. When you understand space, dimension, all of these things, it is the best help for songwriting, because songs are always kind of placed when you write a song, always about, a lot of my songs anyway, all about environment, the place. You're trying to describe a walk down a road, or a house that you used to be in, or a moment in time when two people were gathered in the similar space behind that tree, and that sky in the background. So these things are very important. So I think to have a training in the visual arts is a great thing, and most of the artists and musicians that I've known who came from a background of art, like Keith Richards and Eric Clapton and some of Ronnie Wood and some of those guys. I think that for them, it's easier to this is a great tool for creating songs and creating music. It gives you a landscape, And I did quite a few album covers. I've been involved even recently in doing some of my own, and even helping other people do theirs, So I still keep my hand in. I've still got lots of fonts and design kind of programs in the computer, and I'm always kind of trying to kind of find different angles for doing things like that. The visual eye has not gone. And recently I bought a black and white Leica camera, and it was the most wonderful, because that woke up my old eye again, and suddenly I'm loving taking photos again, So, and the restriction of black and white is a great thing, because you're stuck with a format. You have to think when you're taking a picture that it's not going to come in color, so you have to look at different kind of elements of shade and light and all this sort of stuff, and composition. So my eye is very, and you know what? I've still got 20/20 vision. I wear glasses for reading, because all the years of doing artwork really close up, but I can still look a long way and read a license plate,
Wow.
See the name of the building or a street. So I'm blessed with fantastic eyesight. So, long may that continue.
It will. I'm sure. Yeah. Transitioning into the Las Vegas and Cabaret circuit in 1978 showcased your versatility as an entertainer. So, what challenges and rewards did you experience in adapting your performances to these different settings through time?
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because when I first appeared, I was the Pierrot, the white face, and all white costume.
Correct.
So it was an image, and you're kind of using that to maybe surprise people. So then you can get them to really listen to you,
Yeah.
I soon found that I was really able to walk into a theater
Mm-hmm.
and really sort of understand how I could use all this space, where the audience was sitting, where people were positioned, how to kind of like embrace that, make that. I've always had this ambition, if you like, to bring the audience on stage and put me in, to do the exchange. So I kind of like, I've been working on that over the years, and it's turned me into a good performer, because it's not only about the passion and the energy, but often it's all about, as well, about understanding the space and the place and the environment, and and really sort of, I mean, I'm notorious for always, most artists stand back on the stage behind the monitors, speakers, I'm always at the edge of the stage. I'm usually jumping into the audience. I want to embrace them. I want to really get them involved in the show. I really want them to share the experience, and that's what usually happens. And from that, I've got a good reputation over the years of putting on very special shows, But you walk in there often to a new venue and you don't know what's going to happen. So it becomes an exercise, if you understand, But I've been able to kind of take a lot of ideas that I had early on of what shows would be like and how to do it, and I watched wonderful people. I knew very well Bruce Springsteen, who's a great example of how to put on an exciting show and how to involve everybody, And he's like me, we both had this. We used to talk about this. We had the same ambitions. We only wanted to write songs that would give us a great live show. So, all of his songs, just like my songs, they're all vehicles to put into to make a great live show. And the tempo should change all the time. The keys should change all the time. The excitement should never stop. It'd never go with one style. it changes all the moment, and there's lots of gaps and lots of stops in the songs, lots of drama, lots of changes. That's a Leo Sayer show, and I don't think there's anybody with a show like mine, just like there's nobody with a show like Bruce's.
Yeah, yeah. Well, India can't wait to experience Leo Sayer. Yeah.
We must bring it over.
On.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Yeah. Can't
Absolutely.
wait for it. Yeah.
I'm with you, Addy.
When someone says, I think we briefly touched upon this earlier during our conversation, but I'd like you to speak a little more on this. So when someone says, give me the Leo Sayer formula for creating a track, what are some of the common strands that you've seen across all your songs from a musical aspect?
Oh, it's almost an impossible answer to give to that, because I don't see a linking strand. I'm not trying to be clever, but I look on every single song differently. Each one is a challenge, as if I'd never done it before.
Okay.
So every time I come to the keyboard or come to the microphone, it's the first time. And that's my attitude, that's what I bring to it. So I don't think there is a formula. I think there's, maybe the only linking things are a strong voice and clear pronunciation, good consonants and everything. I mean, when you write words and a collection of words to go together, that kind of poetry of that collection of words, you design them so that they'll sing really well together. So people don't mistake your meaning, I was just a boy giving it all away. I know better now. I know better now. Just a run of words, I paid all my dues, I picked up my shoes, I got up and walked away. There's a kind of role in that, So you try to kind of make something that really works. Okay, that's part of the formula, maybe. Part of the formula is lyrics that really sort of sing well, The other part of the formula is to sing directly to people. So in other words, a lot of songs that I've written are in the first person. That's very important, I think.
Yeah.
And it's easy to write songs about in somebody else, in the persona is somebody else. But I think the direct thing, I'm usually in my songs and my career, it's my autobiography. I'm singing my autobiography. So that's another part of the formula. So always the first person. Sing about yourself, sing about what you're feeling, sing about your philosophies, sing about what you want to tell people, sing about those meanings. So that's the other part of the formula. And maybe the last one is to be brave and different and always surprise people. As soon as they got you down, no, do something different. So I mean, and probably my career would be easier if maybe, I mean, I really admire Elton John and Bernie Taupin, but at the same time, I don't have a style like those guys have. More a constant kind of style. Mine's very scattergun. But I think that makes an exciting show. Because there's so many. Song like Giving It All Away is nothing like You Make Me Feel Like Dancing, is nothing like Thunder in My Heart, is nothing like Train, is nothing like More Than I Can Say, nothing like When I Need You, nothing like Raining in My Heart or Moonlighting or Orchard Road. They're all different, Long Tall Glasses. They are very different pieces of music. And then the trick is to kind of make them weave a story on stage that is really showing multi aspects of you, not just one, say, aspect, And so that's what I tried to do. And I always think that album should be interesting like that as well. The songs should be really radically different, saying different things and contrasting melodies, contrasting chord changes, So it should be like I mean, every song is like the chapter of a novel, And the overall novel is a collection of, I mean, life is like that, isn't it? I mean, all crazy things. I mean, I'm doing my book, realized some of the mad things that have happened to me. I mean, I was the last person to talk to Elvis, before he died. I was also one of the last people to talk to John Lennon on the phone before he died. I was going to visit him a few days later, and we made a promise that we were going to get together. Never happened, So I think some of the things that have happened, some of the events that have happened in my life, some of the people who've turned up in my life and who I've met interacted with, being on a plane one time, and there's Muhammad Ali sitting on the plane, and the two of us in first class on this flight, all we do is talk to each other, and I sing to him as well. So some of the things that have happened to me have been so magical, but they're all radically different. It's like a collage or a patchwork of life, And I think it's to me, it's people are always asking the question, what's the most important thing in your memory? And I go, well, all of them. And give us one anecdote, one story of your life that describes you. Oh my God, you have to pick all of them. There's too much. So the variety is something that I'm very conscious that is valuable to me, the variety of life.
I think I can relate a lot to that because a lot of people ask me, what has been your best interview? Because that's a very difficult question to answer. That every musician has a different story, different perspectives, and different ideals.
Sometimes it might be, like you. I can't think of the names exactly at this moment, but some of the guys you've interviewed are amazing musicians. I mean, absolute kings of their talent, who also work with amazing other musicians. I've been looking at them, and I think that their stories are fascinating because we're all in this world of communication.
Yeah,
we may seem like lone people. I mean, I work by myself now making records. I work by myself on my book, but it's the interaction that we have with other people that's the exciting thing. Stories of those interactions are incredible. It's communication. This is the business we're in, and that's what we're doing now by talking on this podcast, and all the people listening to us and watching us. We are now opening up to those people. And it's if we're having a conversation. Actually, I can hear what someone's saying and thinking right now, because they will be thinking this and bouncing it back to us. And, and that's what's magical. We share this world.
Yeah.
It's not just us, not just our own egos, not just our own fame or our own achievements. We share everything, and everybody's important.
Right.
In that.
Let's talk about some of your albums, and have you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. So let's begin with the release Selfie.
Oh, Selfie. Well, that was a challenge to try and make an album by myself.
Okay.
In other words, to play everything, sing everything on it, I'd only experienced, I think, Todd Rundgren doing an album once called A Cappella, where it's only his voice. So he's doing all the drums, he's every single, he's even doing a guitar. and I almost wanted to make that album, but I thought, no, Todd's already done it. That would be wrong. So I taught myself to play a lot of stuff, and I used a lot of samples. I took pieces of guitars, recordings that I had from old tapes as well. And, it managed to kind of manipulate. It took a long time to make because I'm manipulating samples and retuning them to the songs. I mean, all the songs came from my head. So basically, you're finding a way to record it, And it was a great challenge. And I'm quite happy with the result, It's pretty good. I still think there's some things I could do better in there. But that's what the idea was. I thought, well, if Van Gogh doesn't get someone to come in and do the blues and another person to do the greens or the yellows, if he paints everything himself, surely Leo Sayer can paint everything himself. So that's the idea.
Next one would be Thunder in My Heart.
Well, Thunder in My Heart followed on a very successful commercial album, which was Endless Flight.
Yeah.
So 1977 followed 1976. The first album that I made with Richard Perry. And, that first album was full of a lot of highly constructed ideas, but also some very kind of like, almost, you make me feel like dancing came out of a jam session. Yeah. And I just happened to bump into Barry Mann. So we wrote How Much Love and Hold On to My Love with her, with Cynthia Weil as well, helping with the lyrics. And so that was kind of like a lot of things happened that were unexpected. And, some great songs came in like Magdalena from Danny O'Keefe and people that would just seem to kind of turn up at the right time with a song, you know. So we were kind of trying a lot of things, and we ended up with an album that's very special with Endless Flight. Inspired by that, we went straight back into the studio. We didn't hang around. And now we had probably the world's best studio band ever. Jeff Beccaro on drums, Abe Laboriel on bass, Larry Carlton, Lee Ritenour, Ray Parker Jr., Michael O'Mardian on the keyboards, Greg Fillinganes, David Pate, you know, as I say, Jeff on drums, you know.
You have the guys from Toto. That's crazy.
Yeah, still Bobby Hall on percussion as well from Sly and the Family Stone, and some fantastic singers as well. And the album just really kind of came together as a studio experience. That's what I think I can call it, because basically, I mean, a couple of the songs I wrote with Albert Hammond for that album, "I Want You Back," literally were just. They were head arrangements in the studio. Larry Carlton arranged that one, literally as we stood there. We only did 3 takes.
Okay.
That song, you know, and it wasn't completely written. I had to make up the last verse as we went along. You know, Easy to Love, again, the same thing, you know, that came from nowhere. I mean, Albert and I we wrote it in the morning, just on Easy to Love, when I love someone like you, babe. You know, that's all we had. So we brought that to the musicians, and they started playing this incredible groove. So all of a sudden, you know, bang, hang on, I think I can, let's do another verse on that, you know. You know, you're just trying things. So it was a studio album, really. It was made as a studio album. And unfortunately, it was a little bit ahead of its time, I think, because it didn't really sell the same as Endless Flight did, because people didn't understand it. They said, hang on, how's the pop singer becoming a soul man now, you know? And I suppose that was a challenge for people to get behind.
What about Another Year?
Oh, my favorite album of all, actually. Would you believe? And the weird thing is that album was done under great pressure. I mean, Adam Faith said, I'm only interested in, I want it to be almost like a live album. We went, what? And Frank Farrell, my co-writer, and we had these incredible songs like Bedsitter and Only Dreaming that required massive landscapes of arrangement and, you know, lots of brilliant ideas and great drama, me singing in different voices, often in different ways, you know, of interpreting the songs, some very complex songs, some very dramatic songs. And he gave us 2 weeks to do it. And you know, a lot of the songs we'd written in Spain just before that took about 6 days. We came into the studio with all these ideas, and then Adam was just impatient, only allowing 1 or 2 takes of each song. But I think what we achieved with that restriction, and Russ Ballard's great production as well, amazing guy, Russ, incredibly talented, is him playing the piano on Bedsitter and I Will Not Stop Fighting For You, on some of these amazing songs. Amazing performances. And I've got to say, I'm so proud of that album. Even with all the restrictions, we came in with something I think that's very special.
Lovely. Last up, I have the album Voice in My Head.
Yeah, well, Voice in My Head was an interesting one because it was the first album that I tried to produce by myself. So, or did produce by myself. So I was seeing a beautiful Danish girl who was a country singer. And she was in London. Well, I was seeing her as a friend, you know, she was in London. And we bumped into each other and she said, hey, you know, I'm making a record. I went, what? I didn't even know she could sing. I knew she was very beautiful, but I didn't know she could sing. So suddenly she did. She phoned me from Denmark and said, look, I'm on the island of Jutland, where I come from. You know, where Lego comes from and all the farms there, beautiful flat island, part of the islands of Denmark. And she said, look, we're in the middle of this record. Would you come and sing with me? And would you come and play harmonica? And I just said, yeah, why not? You know, so I went over there and found this incredible studio. And the owner of the studio, a guy called Henning, turned around to me and just said, you know, Leo, you should come and record here. And I looked at the studio. It was a dream studio. An English engineer put it all together. It was 2 incredible rooms, one massive room and one small room, 2 incredible studios with the greatest equipment I'd seen for years, residential as well. And you could, you know, being an Englishman, I could drive there from the port of Harwich, and it's a 2-hour crossing, 2 or 4-hour crossing, and then you cross over to a place called Esbjerg, and then you drive down to where the studio was.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you stay there. And so I had this big estate car at the time, or station wagon, and I ended up getting all the guys from my band, guys that I loved playing with, and putting all their equipment in the back of the car, driving over there on the ferry, flying the guys over. And I just had the most incredible. Well, the weird thing was Henning gave me 60 days, but I took 260 days to make the record. So we ended up, doing string arrangements, everything. And I'm so proud of the album. But the thing is, I know that it's probably not the most commercial of records, but one day we'll remix it and we'll put it out there again, I guess. But again, you've picked all my favorite albums. That's one of my favorites. It was a thrill to do, and I was trying things, experimenting with a lot of the songs to do something really different. Like Candy Graham and the song Everything and Everyone rather, and I was trying to make a really sort of a big, massive album, a kind of electric light orchestra kind of creation, it would be really, really big, orchestral and massive. There's a lovely song on there, Maybe, which a lot of people have pointed to as well, which finishes it with this gorgeous kind of orchestral overture that starts the song, And that was written with a lovely singer that I often sing with in England. And she had this song, and I said, oh, can I add some lyrics to that? And it became a monster, as things do. But we didn't spare any efforts. We really sort of put a lot of work in. And again, very proud of Voice in My Head.
Lovely. In the interest of time, I'd like to come to the last part of our agenda, which is rapid fire with Leo Sear.
Okay. Hey.
All right. So first question for you, Leo. What is that one song that always makes you cry?
Of mine? Or somebody else's?
It can be either yours or it can be somebody else's too. Something that's very...
always gets me. Je ne quitte pas, sung by Nina Simone.
Lovely.
I need hankies.
On the contrary, what is your favorite guilty pleasure song?
Well, guilty pleasure could be interesting. I could almost pick something of avant-garde jazz, which I love, know.
Okay.
So probably A Love Supreme, Coltrane. Yeah. I could listen to that all day. In fact, it's going to be at my funeral.
If you had to put together an all-star pop band, who'd be part of it?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. That's really good. Waddy Wachtel on guitar, who I always love working with, and he's a character as well.
Okay.
I think it'd be Steve Gadd on drums.
Wow.
Lee Sklar probably on bass. Let me see. I'd love to have Lee Ritenour playing rhythm, because nobody plays a rhythm guitar or does the chopping guitar like him. It's just outrageous. I think if he was still playing as good as he ever played, I'd love Steve Stills as my lead guitarist. And also, to help me arrange the songs, because Steve is just a genius. This is just thinking really off the top of my head. I think I'd want Prince to guest in there somewhere as well. No, probably bring back Michael Amardian to play keyboards. Yeah, just such a lovely player.
Sounds like a great band.
We did write some songs together, and of course, he was part of, Steely Dan records and everything like that as well. Amazing player. I'd like to bring back to life Bobby Keys to play the sax, and maybe have Bruce Springsteen opening for me, just so that I could grab him on stage to do some things with me, because I always loved working with Bruce or talking to him.
Great.
I can't think of anybody else. Wow, there's quite a few people I could think of. John McLaughlin, I'd love on guitar as well.
Yeah.
Now that'd be outrageous, because I just love everything he does.
Certainly.
And maybe Alaska Shankar as well could come and join us. Just to kind of give it a different spin.
fun fact: I was supposed to interview El Shankar today, but I had to postpone the interview because it
El Shankar
clashed.
is so wonderful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Please
yeah.
send him my love and tell him
I
I'm a
will.
great
I
fan.
will. I will for sure. I will for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
What is your favorite cuisine?
I'd like to say curry, but it probably is Italian. And it's probably because I have the best Italian chef in the world, working with or cook rather. And so, yeah, it'd probably be a beautiful ragu with incredible spaghetti,
Lovely.
And we have a favorite dish that we do with tuna as well, which is really good. And we're really spoiled here in Australia as well with oysters. I mean, the oysters are amazing. So we have incredible seafood, but I think I'll go with Italian. Yeah.
Okay. What are the top 3 qualities a young singer-songwriter should have before they get started?
Whoa. 1, never listen to anybody. Don't let anybody influence you. Follow your heart and follow your mind. Follow your imagination. And don't let anybody criticize what you're doing until you've finished it. Number 2, be brave, be courageous.
Okay.
No idea is stupid. Every idea that you've got is wonderful. However crazy it seems, it could be punk, it could be anything, but you're right. It's your job to believe in yourself. Number 3, be very wary of the evils of the business, because they'll try and rip you off every single way. And you probably will get ripped off, just like I did. Somewhere along the line, you're going to get cheated. You're going to have money stolen from you.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of people tell you your ideas are stupid, not good, not commercial, and they'll try and push you into a direction you don't believe in. So you've got to stick to your guns.
Correct.
And be prepared. There'll be the times when nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to listen to you, nobody wants to release anything you're doing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're wrong. Be patient, and it will all come to you. Time is a great factor in making music.
Lovely. If you had to describe your experience being on Stalwarts of Music, how would you describe it?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I've enjoyed this talk, and we go into so many different areas, and I can tell your mind is very much like mine. It's imaginative, it's wide encompassing. And I think that's how I think musical people are very, very intelligent people. They maybe have the best of the arts behind them, because music brings more joy than any other form of art.
Sure.
Even movies, writing, books, novels, poetry. Music is incredible because it encompasses such an incredible field. And if done right, it becomes incredibly visual as well. So we conjure up scenes for people in their lives as well. They can almost see the song. They can see the environment that it's describing, or the passion that it's involving, and they see it as it becomes a physical thing. We create something from nothing, and that's what I'm proud of. When you go to write a song, there's nothing, and when you finish the song, there really is a creation, and it comes from nothing. It's not even a blank sheet of paper; it's a blank sheet of the imagination. So I'm very proud of that.
Well, thank you for that. Means a lot coming from you. I have one last question for today. So here's a question, Leo. Down in the distant horizon, what would you like to be remembered as?
Oh, I think a guy who loved life and described it in his music.
Incredible.
Do you remember the Spinal Tap movie?
Yeah. Of course.
Silly, stupid movie. But I love what the keyboard player says. When they ask him, "What's your motto of life?" He says, "Have a good time all the time." and I keep thinking, I want that on my headstone. But I enjoy life, and I enjoy my job. career. I enjoy the fact that all the wonderful people that I've met through music, because they've loved what I've done. And that's the feedback you get, And so I don't know. I really don't have any hang-ups. I don't regret a single thing. Even, the horrible moments when I've had no money or no success and nobody's wanted to make a record with me or nobody comes to the concert, even those, they're all parts of it. They're very important parts. Failure leads to success.
Sure.
And you've got to embrace those things. That's why the advice to young people, don't be scared of failure. It will happen in some ways.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, if you learn from it correctly, to take your opportunities when they come to you, really seize them with everything you've got, then you'll be happy and then you'll be successful. Happiness, isn't it?
That was a great answer to a closure. And it was such an incredible privilege, blessing, and an honor having you on the show, Leo. This interview will be additionally aired on Big FM Shillong and Aizawl, two incredible radio stations in the northeastern part of India, on my Sunday primetime radio show between 5 to 6. And it'll also be out on my YouTube channel, Aditya Veera 1994. And will be streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and name it, all possible audio streaming platform at a later point. And I'll be sure to share the link once this interview is out.
Please do. And I'll share it with all of my platforms as well, and lots of friends of mine. And I hope I could link you as well with some other people that I know in America.
Yes, please. Yes, please. That'd be a total honor, and I'd be more than happy to take it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I know some wonderful songwriters like Marcy Levy, from Shakespeare's sister, who wrote "Lay Down Sally," for Eric Clapton. She's always got great stories.
Sure.
Danny O'Keefe, who wrote "Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues" and "Magdalena" for me, and so many amazing songs.
Yeah.
So I'll give a shout out to them as well, because I know that they really would love to connect with India, because we need to connect with the Indian continent a lot more.
Correct.
I'll tell you something really funny. Just as I'm a great cricket fan.
Wow.
And the connections that Australia has with India for cricket. People like Shane Warne, who was a great friend of mine, would always be saying, "Leo, you should be over in India, because when we play over there, they all talk about you." And it's incredible. And Brett Lee, and all those guys that came over and had wonderful careers in the Indian Premier League, and all of that. So I think it's time. It's time I came over. And but when I come and do the concert, I want you to introduce me on stage.
That'll be a total honor. I'm just so happy. Man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
awesome,
fantastic.
You have a nice day. Thank you so much once again. It's been
lovely talking.
Incredible
Namaste.
time. All right, bye.
Incredible. Thank you so much. Cheers, man.
Bye.
Have a great day.
You too.